Nay Willie Langate Kai on Kieti up Rambun Kai say Hatch Nam people no pay pram. Some diet mohaba water but they could manite. Bijurama train a prayer reach in a chakampuchi. Bonso say sa, the Liban dine some cum can ye plug car about some diet. Knum clum sa, no thought in knee. No try on Kieti up Rambun say happy pon pay pram knee. Knyum ban chupi pisa tam to the sap. Chimu Iwudum, Anva Ibrahim, Bijuramadre Malazi, Nentia Pratim Pedobin Azin, Peapon and Watanat Pip Neka, and what Bachuban, Veltman Aikapip Kmirubin Kampuchit and Tai, Kanong take Brichum Pise. Kalpi kai tima papram bay kai katanaj nam pipon ma papram, noti krum putraja ya, then take prichum wisaman, nakana kamati kaprum dan tute kampuchit hai, extraordinary GBC. Kalpi kai ti prampi, kai say hach nam pipon ma papram, melti krum kulalampu, that's some rob some brewer rip jumped out protein malazi. June Kobanti Pesak Near, Pika Chimbrud Bankat Krumnes on Ketka Azin Observer Team, AOT, Outban Chaproha, Kotnuchi Nalka, Robot Krumnes on Ketka Manda Asan, Interim Observer Team, IOT. Dalchi Junakasam Khan, some Rabka Tamtan Trutpinatka and the what Machuk Ban, Old Min Presetape.
แต่นี่ก็ลำมาฟังผมนะสมมติว่าผมก็ไม่ว่าแล้วแต่ว่าลำมาผมก็มาเปลี่ยนเจอไปเนี่ยพวกข้านี่ทำยังจะไม่ยังโตได้ต่างสองพายเนี่ยไอ้กัมพูชาเนี่ยไอ้บ้านเลยพวกทำงานแต่แบบนี้มาเยอะแบบนี้คือไม่สมควรเลยแล้วก็พัดใจกลางแล้วเขาปรุงก็มาได้ไปถึงนู้นนะว่าแต่นี่แบบนี้ขณะเขาทางทูตไทยมาลำมาขับใต้ทางตรงเลยพวกพอมาย่อบอกวันที่ผ่านมากัมพูชาก็มาได้ไปลำขับใต้ของไทยเลยตอนซาชอบไปอย่างเต้มันมาเนี่ยไม่นอแนวกันแต่นี่ก็ลำมาฟังผมนะสมมติว่าผมก็ไม่ว่าแล้วแต่ว่าลำมาผมมาเปลี่ยนเจอไปเนี่ยพวกข้านี่ทำยังจะไม่ยังโตได้ต่างสองพายเนี่ยไอ้กัมพูชาเนี่ยไอ้บ้านเลยพวกทำงานแต่แบบนี้มาเยอะแบบนี้คือไม่สมควรเลยแล้วก็พัดใจกลางแล้วเขาปรุงก็มาได้ไปถึงนู้นนะว่าแต่นี่แบบนี้ขณะเขาทางทูตไทยมาลำมาขับใต้ทางตรงเลยพวกพอมาย่อบอกวันผ่านมากัมพูชาก็มาได้ไปลำขับใต้ของไทยเลย
Agreed minutes of the Extraordinary General Border Committee, GBC, meeting between Cambodia and Thailand. On August 7, 2025, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. 1. Ceasefire arrangement. 1. Both sides agreed to a ceasefire involving all types of weapons, including attacks on civilians and civilian objects and military objectives of either side, in all cases in all areas. Both sides must avoid unprovoked firing towards the other side's positions or troops. This agreement must not be violated under any circumstances. 2. Both sides agreed to maintain current troop deployments without further movement as it is at the time ceasefire reached at 2400 hours local time on July 28, 2025. There shall be no troop movements including patrol towards the other side's position. 3. Both sides agree not to increase forces along the entire Cambodia-Thailand border. Any reinforcement would heighten tensions and negatively affect long-term efforts to resolve the situation. 4. Both sides agree not to undertake provocative actions that may escalate tensions. This includes military activities to enter the other side's airspace and territory or positions as of ceasefire from 2400 hours local time on July 28, 2025. Both sides agree to refrain from constructing or enhancing any military infrastructure or fortifications beyond their own side. 5. Both sides agree not to use any kind of forces against civilians and civilian objects in all circumstances. Such actions would not only endanger communities in the border areas but also violate international law and tarnish the global image of the non-compliant side. 6. Both sides agreed to comply with international humanitarian law in the treatment of captured soldiers, including their living conditions, shelter, food, and medical care in case of injury. If one side wishes to bring in its own wounded soldiers or civilians who are not under the control of the other side for medical treatment, the receiving side may determine its response based on the capacity of its medical facilities, including available equipment, personnel, or medical ethics, on a case-by-case basis. Captured soldiers shall be immediately released and repatriated after the cessation of active hostilities in accordance with Article 118 of the Third Geneva Convention of 1949 and Rule 128A of the customary international humanitarian law. Both sides agreed to exchange information and facilitate the dignified and timely return of deceased individuals at an agreed location, in full respect of humanitarian principles and jurisdiction without crossing the border, and ensure that appropriate measures are taken to identify and manage the dead under sanitary and respectful conditions, thereby preventing the deceased from disappearing in death. 7. In the event of an armed conflict, whether intentional or unintentional, both sides must promptly consult at the local level through existing bilateral mechanisms to prevent the situation from escalating along the entire border. Prolonged conflict would endanger the safety of civilians and soldiers on both sides and heighten tensions, thereby complicating efforts toward a joint resolution. 8. In particular, both sides agree to 8.1 Maintain regular communications between all Army areas and military regions and units along the border of both sides and strive to solve all issues peacefully and avoid clashes. 8.2 Convene the Regional Border Committee, RBC, meeting within 2 weeks after the extraordinary GBC meeting on August 7, 2025. The host will be determined in accordance with the regular hosting rotation. 8.3 Maintain regular and direct lines of communication between ministers and chiefs of defense forces level. 9. Both sides agree to refrain from disseminating false information or fake news in order to de-escalate tensions, mitigate negative public sentiment, and foster an environment conducive to peaceful dialogue. 2. Mechanism for the implementation of ceasefire arrangement. 10. Both sides remain committed to implementing the common understanding reached at the special meeting on July 28, 2025, including the ceasefire and formation of ASEAN Observer Team led by Malaysia to verify and ensure its implementation. 11. Both sides agree to assign the respective RBCs to carry out the implementation of the ceasefire coordinated and observed by ASEAN Observer Team led by Malaysia. The RBCs will meet regularly and submit their reports to the GBC through their respective national chains of command. 12. Pending the ASEAN Observer Team led by Malaysia as agreed upon by both sides in Putrajaya on July 28, 2025, the Interim Observer Team, IOT, comprising defense attaches of ASEAN member states accredited to Thailand or Cambodia and led by the defense attaches of Malaysia will be established separately and independently in each country, Cambodia and Thailand, to observe, on each side, the implementations of the ceasefire on a regular basis. The composition of each country's IOT is independently invited by the host country in consultation with Malaysia. The IOT will operate without crossing the border and will work in close coordination and consultation with the RBCs and GBC of each country. 3. Date and venue of the next meeting. 13. Both sides agree to schedule the next GBC meeting within a month after August 7, 2025, at a venue to be discussed. Otherwise, an extraordinary GBC meeting should be called immediately with the same format as this extraordinary GBC meeting to discuss the ceasefire.